We have a major Toronto Raptors draft update as Zach Edey continues to shoot up the draft boards, putting Masai Ujiri in a tougher position in terms of the prospects that are going to actually land to him at number 19 overall, given the fact in recent years we looked at shooting and what Darko Rajaković recently spoke out and said, the Toronto Raptors are projected to make a shocking selection at number 19 overall. So we're going to break down the updates to Zach Edey's draft stock, who the Raptors are now projected to draft in this year's number 19th overall pick, and just all of the madness of this year's NBA draft because people are moving up and down and all over the place. So without further ado, let's dive into the first major update because Zach Edey, the guy that has been most known, most talked about amongst Raptors circles, whether you like him, whether you don't like him as a potential pick, obviously being a 7'4" Canadian that dominated college basketball, he's going to be a major talking point for Raptors fans. He has been shooting up the draft boards and now is projected to go before the Toronto Raptors are selecting number 19 overall. Essentially, in the latest mock draft from Brett Siegel, he has them going to the Los Angeles Lakers. What are the Lakers going to do this offseason? Like the Sixers, they could very much consider the aspect of trading this pick to get an established name next to LeBron James and all these types of dudes. But a player like Zach Edey could make a lot of sense for Los Angeles, seeing as they've always wanted a true center next to Anthony Davis in the front court. Edey excels in pick and roll sets, will create an enormous frontcourt pairing with Davis. While the Lakers fans might find ways to complain about this pick, Edey in Los Angeles truly seems like a great scenario due to his presence in the paint. As far as win now guys in this spot at 17 overall, Edey is one of the only players who can truly impact winning from his first day of being in the NBA. So this is pretty wild. Obviously, we know the value of Zach Edey in terms of his stats, what he's able to provide. I mean, in college, the dude averaged 25 points per game, 12 rebounds, 2 assists, and shot 62% from the field. He is an automatic bucket when he catches it down low. Yes, there's questions about his mobility. Yes, there's questions about his speed. We've talked about this on countless Raptors Digest videos, but he has that value, and more teams are seeming to see it with these pre-draft workouts, with the information leaking out there, and now Zach Edey could be going number 17th overall in latest mock drafts, ahead of where the Raptors even have a chance to select him. Obviously, unless we make a trade, we make a sort of move to bring in Zach Edey. So obviously a lot of the eyes have been on the Toronto Raptors selecting Edey. So who's now on this list? Who's now on the Raptors sort of radar in terms of a potential draft selection? Well, in this same mock draft from Brett Siegel, he had an interesting sort of pick for the Toronto Raptors. He says, basically, a team that he has the Toronto Raptors essentially taking Johnny Furphy at number 19th overall. A team has likely given Johnny Furphy a promise in the first round. The question now is, which team promises to take Furphy? It was a little surprising to see Furphy keep his name in the NBA draft instead of returning to Kansas, simply because he doesn't appear to be a prospect who is ready to contribute on a daily basis in the NBA. With that said, that doesn't mean the 19-year-old can't grow into a productive shooter on the wing. The Toronto Raptors, one of the worst perimeter scoring teams in the league this past season, pairing Furphy with Gradey Dick, another Kansas alumni, gives the Toronto Raptors the dependable shooting weapons to integrate into their core group. Now, this is very interesting. This is an interesting selection in terms of looking at this guy. So, who is this dude that, is brought up? Well, Johnny Furphy, he's a guy from Australia and is a guy that has been projected to be mostly a second-round pick, but as Brett Siegel sort of indicates, it looks like a team has given him a first-round promise, and looking at his stats, he's an interesting sort of guy. Basically, last season, averaged 9 points per game, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 46% from the field in college, 19 years old. His size and frame for a shooter is pretty interesting. The guy, again, only 19 years old, born in 2004, that's bananas, from Australia, is close to 6'9", a 6'9" shooting guard, 190 pounds. The mock drafts right now from Tankathon, they have him in 26. They're not updated. Brett Siegel's the most recent one basically came out yesterday, but played at Kansas. Obviously, the Toronto Raptors drafted Gradey Dick last year, but in terms of the intangibles, in terms of what he's able to do, right, 32-inch vertical, lane agility isn't crazy high. His solid standing reach has a 6'8" wingspan, so not dino arms, but equal wingspan to height. But 9 points, as we said, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, only 35% from behind the three-point line. Again, on 4 attempts per game for a younger dude in college. That's not horrible, but it's not crazy numbers, crazy stats for a shooter coming into the league. So it makes sense why a lot of scouts sort of view this as a dude that probably should have went back to college. It's probably wanted that destination. But given the fact he's a dude that can knock down the three ball and has that sort of size and frame, similar to a Gradey Dick, similar to that type of prospect, I see why he did make the jump and why a team would be interested in his services, especially with all the question marks around a lot of the dudes currently in the NBA draft. So, Johnny Furphy is an interesting guy in terms of what the scouts are saying about him. Furphy has a great positional size on the wing, making him a difficult player to guard. His greatest strength is ability to be a threat from three-point shooting range, particularly his catch-and-shoot situations. On top of that, Furphy has shown numerous flashes in hitting threes off of screens and dribble handoffs. Speaking of which, the guard has shown some mid-range shooting talent, particularly around the free throw line. He's also a smart off-ball mover, knowing when to cut to the basket or get open for easy threes. Additionally, Furphy is a good finisher around the rim and can use either hand. He's effectively utilizes his size and athleticism, converting shots at the rim, which is most apparent in transition, where he's also a good rebounder and can crashes the glass and fights for every loose ball. Furphy's high basketball IQ, tenacity, and hustle will certainly ease his transition into the NBA. So those are the positives. For a guy that isn't a crazy sort of size athlete, didn't have crazy numbers in college, he is a solid spot-up shooter, can hit shots in the mid-range, and is a guy that's capable of scoring around the basket. So offensively, is a dude with a lot of potential. It's the reason he's probably going to be a first-round selection in this year's NBA draft. But what are the question marks about Johnny Furphy? Why is he going late in the draft? Why is he projected to, be a guy that a lot expected to go back to college for a second year? Well, essentially, the cons in terms of what his game, a little bit of a bigger paragraph, but his biggest weakness is on the defensive end, especially guarding the point of attack. While Furphy is smart in terms of all-ball rotational defense and plays with high energy, he struggles at the point of attack defender. He's smaller and shiftier guards can take advantage of his lack of lateral quickness, easily dislodging him from proper defensive positioning. He's also guilty of allowing too many straight line drives to the baskets. He needs to improve on that end of the floor. He's also quite thin and can be out-muscled. He'll need to put on weight on his frame to handle NBA level physicality. On the offensive side of the court, he isn't much of a shot creator for himself. He isn't a great playmaker either, only averaging 1 assist per night. Furphy played a limited role in the Kansas offense due to his lack of isolation scoring or high-level playmaking. While shooting is Furphy's strongest skill, he needs to continue to refine his shooting and include more varied shots other than just catch and shoot. Specifically, can improve taking more pull-up threes, and so defenses respect him more as a shooter. So it's a guy that you're bringing in for the shooting potential. He can offensively be a catch-and-shoot guy that spaces the floor, similar to what we saw with Gradey Dick, but is limited in other aspects. He can finish around the basket. He's, can finish around the rim and stuff, but isn't creating a lot of those shots for himself. He's a high IQ. He's a cutter. He's a three-point shooter. And why positionally, defensively, he's can hold his own. He can do his thing. He does get killed in the point of attack. So, an interesting prospect at number 19 overall, especially that three-point shooting, 35%. I'd like that to be higher for drafting a guy, for his three-point shooting, to be shooting them at a bit of a higher level than 35% on the shorter college line, but would be an interesting sort of player to bring in at that point here, in the NBA draft. But I don't know. I'd still be interested. I'm hopeful Zach Edey falls to us at that sort of draft selection rather than the Johnny Furphy. But we'll see how it goes. To get the new Splash Brother dynamic duo, with Gradey Dick and Johnny Furphy, the Kansas guys, in the backcourt for the Toronto Raptors. But let me know who you guys like to see the Toronto Raptors select in this year's NBA draft. You guys are the best thing as far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. I'm signing down. Cheers.